Arrival and first impressions. The sleek, silver vessel of Commander Zirax pierced Earth's atmosphere, its hull glowing faintly as it descended towards the sprawling complex of Terra Prime Academy. Zirax, a tall, lithe being with iridescent scales and 4 arms, stood at the cockpit, his compound eyes taking in the lush green landscape below. As Supreme Commander of the Galactic Confederation's military forces, he had visited countless worlds, but Earth, classified as a Deathworld due to its extreme conditions, held a particular fascination. The ship touched down on a landing pad surrounded by towering structures of glass and steel. As the hatch opened, Zirax was hit by a wave of humid air, far denser than he was accustomed to. He suppressed a shudder, reminding himself that this was precisely why he had come, to understand how humans not only survived but thrived in such harsh conditions. A delegation approached, led by a stern-faced woman with close-cropped gray hair. She wore a crisp uniform adorned with various insignia that Zirax's translator identified as marks of high rank. "Welcome to Terra Prime Academy, Commander Zirax," she said, her voice clear and authoritative. "I'm Admiral Helena Cortez, commandant of this facility. We're honored to host you." Zirax inclined his head in a gesture of respect. "The honor is mine, Admiral. I look forward to learning about your training methods." As they walked towards the main building, Zirax noticed groups of cadets engaged in various activities. Some were running obstacle courses, others were in heated discussions over holographic displays, and yet others were practicing hand-to-hand combat. The intensity of their focus was palpable. Admiral Cortez led Zirax to a large auditorium where hundreds of cadets stood at attention. As they entered, a hush fell over the room. "Cadets," Cortez announced, her voice echoing through the space, "we have the privilege of hosting Commander Zirax of the Galactic Confederation. He will be observing our training methods over the next few days. I expect you all to demonstrate the excellence that Terra Prime is known for." Zirax stepped forward, his towering form drawing all eyes. "Greetings, future leaders of Earth's defense forces. I come not as a superior, but as a student. Your world has long been a subject of fascination, and I must admit, some trepidation among my people. I am here to understand what makes humans not just survivors, but conquerors of such a challenging world." The cadets remained silent, but Zirax could sense a mix of curiosity and pride emanating from them. He realized that these young humans saw their harsh world not as a disadvantage, but as a forge that had tempered their species into something formidable. As the day progressed, Zirax was given a tour of the Academy's facilities. He marveled at the advanced simulation chambers, capable of recreating any environment or scenario. The weapons training areas were equipped with energy weapons far more sophisticated than he had expected from such a young spacefaring race. But what truly caught his attention was the library. Unlike the databanks he was accustomed to, this was a vast room filled with physical books, an archaic concept to Zirax's people. "Why maintain such outdated information storage?" he asked Admiral Cortez. She smiled, running her hand along a shelf of leather-bound tomes. "These aren't just for storing information, Commander. They're a connection to our past, our history of overcoming challenges. Plus," she added with a wink, "they can't be hacked or remotely deleted." As evening fell, Zirax retired to his quarters, his mind buzzing with observations. The humans' adaptability was evident in every aspect of their training. They seemed to thrive on challenges, actively seeking out difficulties rather than avoiding them. Looking out his window at the bustling campus below, Zirax felt a mix of admiration and unease. He had come expecting to find a species barely clinging to survival on a hostile world. Instead, he had found a race that had turned adversity into strength. As he prepared for sleep, Zirax's communicator chirped. It was a message from his superiors back home. "Observe closely. Determine threat level. Report findings." Zirax switched off the device, his unease growing. He had come seeking knowledge, but he now realized that his visit might have far-reaching consequences for both his people and humanity. As sleep claimed him, one thought lingered. Had he underestimated these Deathworlders? The next day would bring physical challenges that would test not just the human cadets, but Zirax himself. Little did he know, his preconceptions about human capabilities were about to be shattered. Physical and mental challenges. The piercing shriek of a whistle jolted Zirax from his slumber. Outside his window, he saw cadets pouring out of their dormitories, quickly forming neat lines in the pre-dawn darkness. Curiosity piqued, he donned his environment suit and ventured out. Admiral Cortez was already waiting for him, looking fresh despite the early hour. "Good morning, Commander. Care to join us for our daily physical training?" Zirax hesitated. His species prided itself on mental acuity rather than physical prowess. Still, he had come to learn. "I would be honored," he replied, trying to mask his apprehension. They joined a group led by a muscular instructor with a shaved head and a booming voice. "All right, maggots," he shouted. "Today we have a special guest. Let's show Commander Zirax what Earthborn warriors are made of." What followed was 2 hours of grueling exercises that pushed Zirax to his physical limits. They started with a 10-kilometer run through rough terrain. Zirax, used to the lower gravity of his homeworld, struggled to keep up. His breath came in ragged gasps, his legs burning with exertion. Next came strength training. Zirax watched in amazement as cadets lifted weights that would crush most beings he knew. When it was his turn, he managed to lift only a fraction of what the humans could, despite his 4 arms. The final challenge was a complex obstacle course. Cadets swung across mud pits, scaled sheer walls, and crawled under electrified wire. Zirax, his pride somewhat bruised, decided to attempt it. He made it halfway before slipping and falling into a mud pit, his normally pristine scales now caked in Earth's soil. As he dragged himself out, he expected ridicule. Instead, a cadet extended a hand, helping him up. "Nice try, sir," the young human said with a grin. "It took me weeks to make it through my first time." Admiral Cortez approached, offering Zirax a towel. "Impressed yet, Commander?" Zirax nodded, still catching his breath. "Your cadet's physical capabilities are remarkable. But surely mental acuity is equally important in modern warfare." Cortez's eyes twinkled. "I'm glad you asked. Follow me." They entered a vast, dimly lit room filled with holographic displays. Cadets sat at various stations, their faces illuminated by the glow of their screens. Cortez explained, "This is our Strategic Command Simulation Center. Here, we test our cadets' ability to make split-second decisions under pressure." Zirax was intrigued. This was more in line with his own military training. He watched as cadets coordinated simulated fleet movements, managed resource allocation, and responded to surprise attacks. "Would you like to try?" Cortez asked, gesturing to an empty station. Zirax sat down, confidence returning. This was his element. The simulation began, presenting him with a complex scenario involving multiple hostile forces and limited resources. At first, Zirax handled it well, his strategic mind quickly assessing the situation and deploying forces efficiently. But as the simulation progressed, he found himself overwhelmed. The scenarios changed rapidly, introducing variables he hadn't anticipated. Environmental hazards, civilian populations, political considerations, all factored into the decision-making process in ways he hadn't experienced before. After an hour, Zirax removed his hands from the controls, his head spinning. "Remarkable," he muttered. "The complexity, the variables. How do your cadets manage this?" A young cadet at a nearby station spoke up. "It's like the physical training, sir. Earth throws so much at us every day. Extreme weather, natural disasters, diverse ecosystems. We're used to adapting quickly." Zirax pondered this. He had always seen Earth's harsh conditions as a handicap for its inhabitants. Now he was beginning to understand that these very challenges had honed humanity into something formidable. The day continued with more demonstrations of human ingenuity. Zirax observed classes on xenobiology, where cadets learned to adapt to various alien physiologies. He sat in on lectures about improvised engineering, watching in awe as students constructed complex devices from seemingly random parts. As evening approached, Zirax found himself in a quiet corner of the Academy's arboretum. The lush vegetation reminded him of the carefully cultivated gardens on his homeworld, yet here, plants grew with wild abandon, adapting to every nook and cranny. Admiral Cortez joined him, offering a steaming cup of liquid. "Earth coffee," she explained. "Thought you might need it after today." Zirax accepted the drink, his hand still trembling slightly from the day's exertions. "Admiral," he began, choosing his words carefully, "I must confess, I came here expecting to find a species struggling against their environment. Instead, I found one that has turned adversity into strength." Cortez nodded, her expression serious. "Earth isn't kind, Commander. We've faced extinction-level events, ice ages, plagues. But each time, we've adapted, grown stronger. We don't just survive here. We thrive." As night fell, Zirax returned to his quarters, his mind whirling with the day's experiences. He began composing his report to his superiors, but found himself hesitating. How could he convey the raw potential he had witnessed? The sheer adaptability and resilience of these humans. Looking out at the starry sky, Zirax felt a chill run down his spine. He had come to assess a potential threat, but he was beginning to realize that threat might be an understatement. These humans, forged in the crucible of their Deathworld, were unlike anything he had encountered before. Tomorrow would bring new revelations as Zirax delved into the tactical and strategic thinking that had allowed humans to not just survive, but to stand on the brink of becoming a major galactic power. The true scope of humanity's potential was yet to be revealed, and Zirax found himself both eager and apprehensive about what he would discover. Tactical simulations and strategy. The third day of Zirax's visit dawned with an air of anticipation. Word had spread through the Academy about the alien commander's presence, and cadets whispered excitedly as Zirax made his way to the Tactical Simulation Center. Admiral Cortez greeted him at the entrance. "Today, Commander, you'll witness how we train our future leaders to think on their feet and outmaneuver any opponent." They entered a vast, circular room dominated by a massive holographic display. Cadets stood around it, their faces bathed in the ethereal glow of simulated star systems and fleet movements. A young officer approached, saluting crisply. "Lieutenant Sarah Chen, sir. I'll be running today's simulation." Zirax nodded, intrigued. "What scenario will we be witnessing, Lieutenant?" Chen's eyes gleamed with excitement. "We call it Kobayashi Maru, sir. It's based on an old training exercise, but we've updated it for modern interstellar warfare." The simulation began, and Zirax watched in fascination as the cadets were presented with an impossible situation. A civilian ship stranded in hostile territory, with enemy forces closing in and diplomatic tensions rising. What followed was a masterclass in creative problem-solving. The cadets didn't just accept the parameters of the simulation. They questioned them, looked for loopholes, and fought laterally. One team attempted to hack the enemy's communication systems, another tried to negotiate by offering valuable technology, while a third proposed a daring rescue mission that skirted the edge of intergalactic law. "Impressive," Zirax murmured to Cortez. "But surely in real combat, there are rules, protocols to follow." Cortez's expression was grim. "On Earth, Commander, we learned long ago that survival sometimes means rewriting the rules. We train our officers to think beyond conventional tactics." As the day progressed, Zirax observed more simulations, each more complex than the last. He saw cadets coordinate planetary evacuations in the face of cosmic disasters, manage resource wars on distant colonies, and navigate the treacherous waters of interspecies diplomacy. What struck Zirax most was the humans' ability to adapt their strategies on the fly. When one approach failed, they quickly pivoted to another, never becoming fixated on a single solution. It was a stark contrast to the rigid, hierarchical thinking that dominated his own military. During a break, Zirax found himself in conversation with a group of cadets. Their eagerness to learn about his own tactical doctrines was surprising. "But sir," one cadet asked, her brow furrowed, "doesn't having a single optimized strategy for each scenario make your forces predictable?" Zirax was taken aback. He had never considered it that way. "Perhaps," he admitted, "but it also ensures consistency and reduces the chance of errors." The cadet nodded thoughtfully. "I see. But on Earth, we've learned that the environment can change so quickly that a perfect plan can become useless in seconds. Adaptability is our greatest weapon." As the day wore on, Zirax's unease grew. He had come expecting to find a species playing at war. Instead, he was witnessing the birth of a strategic doctrine unlike anything in the galaxy. The final exercise of the day was a full-scale simulated invasion of Earth. Zirax watched, heart pounding, as the cadets coordinated a global defense that utilized every aspect of their harsh world against the invaders. They used the planet's strong gravity to set traps, its extreme weather as a weapon, and its diverse biomes to mask their movements. When the simulation ended with Earth's successful defense, the room erupted in cheers. Zirax stood silent, his mind racing. These humans hadn't just adapted to their Deathworld. They had turned the entire planet into a fortress. That evening, Zirax sat in his quarters, struggling to compose his report. How could he convey the implications of what he had seen? These humans, with their quick minds and quicker reflexes, their ability to turn disadvantage into advantage. They were not just a species to watch, but one to be wary of. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. It was Admiral Cortez. "Commander, I hope today was informative. I wanted to extend an invitation for tomorrow. We're having a cultural exchange day, and I thought you might be interested in seeing a different side of our academy." Zirax agreed, his curiosity piqued. As Cortez left, he turned back to his report, adding a new line. "Caution advised in all future interactions with Earth. Their potential as both allies and adversaries cannot be overstated." As he prepared for sleep, Zirax's gaze fell on the window, where Earth's moon hung large in the sky. He remembered reading how humans, confined to their Deathworld, had looked up at that moon and decided not just to survive, but to reach out and touch it. It was that spirit, he realized, that made them truly dangerous. Tomorrow would bring new insights into the human psyche as Zirax delved into their culture and ethics. He found himself both eager and apprehensive. What other surprises did these Deathworlders have in store? Part 4. Cultural Exchange and Ethical Dilemmas. The fourth day of Zirax's visit to Terra Prime Academy brought a change of pace. Instead of simulations and physical challenges, he found himself in a large open hall filled with displays of art, music, and literature from across human history. Admiral Cortez greeted him with a warm smile. "Welcome to our Cultural Exchange Day, Commander. We believe that understanding our past and our diversity is crucial to shaping our future leaders." Zirax was immediately struck by the variety on display. Earth's numerous cultures, each adapted to different harsh environments, had produced a kaleidoscope of expressions. He saw paintings depicting serene landscapes alongside sculptures made from salvaged war materials. Music ranged from soothing melodies to intense, rhythmic pieces that seemed to echo the planet's volatile nature. A group of cadets approached, eager to guide him through the exhibits. One of them, Cultural Exchange and Ethical Dilemmas. The fourth day of Zirax's visit to Terra Prime Academy brought a change of pace. Instead of simulations and physical challenges, he found himself in a large open hall filled with displays of art, music, and literature from across human history. Admiral Cortez greeted him with a warm smile. "Welcome to our Cultural Exchange Day, Commander. We believe that understanding our past and our diversity is crucial to shaping our future leaders." Zirax was immediately struck by the variety on display. Earth's numerous cultures, each adapted to different harsh environments, had produced a kaleidoscope of expressions. He saw paintings depicting serene landscapes alongside sculptures made from salvaged war materials. Music ranged from soothing melodies to intense, rhythmic pieces that seemed to echo the planet's volatile nature. A group of cadets approached, eager to guide him through the exhibits. One of them, a young woman with vibrant blue hair, introduced herself as Cadet Maya Wong. "Commander, would you like to explore human philosophy and ethics? It's a crucial part of our training." Intrigued, Zirax followed Maya to a section dedicated to philosophical texts. He was surprised to see ancient scrolls displayed alongside modern data tablets. "You still reference such old ideas?" he asked, genuinely curious. Maya nodded enthusiastically. "Absolutely. These ancient thinkers grappled with questions we still face today. How to build a just society, the ethics of war, the balance between individual freedom and collective good. On a death world like Earth, these aren't just academic questions. They're matters of survival." As they moved through the exhibit, Zirax found himself engaged in deep discussions with the cadets. They debated the ethics of genetic engineering, the rights of artificial intelligences, and the responsibilities of spacefaring civilizations to less advanced species. What struck Zirax most was the diversity of opinions among the cadets. Unlike his own society, where consensus was prized above all, these humans seemed to thrive on respectful disagreement. Each cadet brought unique perspectives shaped by their cultural backgrounds and personal experiences. Midday brought a new activity, a series of ethical dilemmas presented as interactive scenarios. Zirax watched as cadets grappled with complex situations that had no clear right answers. One scenario particularly caught his attention. It involved a colony ship malfunctioning near a populated but pre-spaceflight world. The cadets had to decide whether to risk revealing advanced technology to save the colonists or preserve the natural development of the alien civilization at the cost of human lives. The debate that ensued was passionate but remarkably civil. Zirax observed how the cadets drew on historical examples, philosophical principles, and practical considerations to argue their points. The final decision was reached through a process of discussion and compromise that left Zirax both impressed and slightly unsettled. "You allow such young minds to tackle these weighty issues?" he asked Admiral Cortez, who had been observing silently. Cortez nodded, her expression serious. "Commander, on Earth, we've learned that the harshest environments don't just challenge our bodies, they test our values. Our cadets must be prepared to make difficult decisions in impossible situations. It's not enough to be physically strong or tactically brilliant. They must also be ethically grounded." As the day progressed, Zirax found himself drawn into more discussions. He shared stories of his own culture's ethical traditions, finding both surprising similarities and stark differences with human philosophies. One cadet asked him a question that gave him pause. "Commander, how does your society view the ethics of interacting with species from less harsh worlds? Do you see it as your duty to protect them, or to push them to become stronger?" Zirax considered carefully before answering. "Traditionally, we have seen it as our role to guide and protect. But after what I've seen here, I'm beginning to wonder if that view is too simplistic." The evening concluded with a cultural performance. Cadets from various Earth cultures presented music, dance, and theatrical pieces. Zirax was mesmerized by the raw emotion and creativity on display. He realized that this, too, was a form of adaptation, using art to process and transcend the challenges of life on a death world. As he retired to his quarters that night, Zirax's mind was awhirl with new ideas. He had come to study human military capabilities, but found himself reevaluating his entire species' approach to ethics, governance, and cultural exchange. He added to his report, "Caution, human adaptability extends beyond the physical and tactical. Their cultural and ethical flexibility may make them unpredictable allies or formidable adversaries. Recommend comprehensive review of Confederation policies on cultural exchange and ethical guidelines or interspecies interactions." Looking out at the Earth's night sky, Zirax felt a mix of admiration and trepidation. These humans, forged in the crucible of their harsh world, had developed not just physical and tactical strength, but a rich tapestry of cultures and a nuanced approach to ethics. They were far more complex and potentially far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. Tomorrow would bring the final challenge, a test that would push both Zirax and the human cadets to their limits. As he prepared for sleep, Zirax wondered what final revelations awaited him about these remarkable Deathworlders. Final exercise and departure. The dawn of Zirax's final day at Terra Prime Academy broke with an ominous red sky. As he made his way to the main briefing room, there was a palpable tension in the air. Cadets hurried past, their faces set in grim determination. Admiral Cortez met him at the door, her usual calm demeanor replaced by an air of urgency. "Commander, we've had to alter today's plans. An actual crisis has developed, and we're incorporating it into our final exercise. I hope you don't mind observing a real-time response." Zirax's 4 hearts quickened. "Not at all. Admiral, what's the situation?" They entered the bustling command center. Holographic displays showed a massive asteroid on a collision course with Earth. Cortez explained, "It was detected late due to a blind spot in our defense grid. Impact is projected in 36 hours. This is now a live exercise for our senior cadets." Zirax watched in fascination as the cadets sprang into action. They quickly organized into teams, each tackling different aspects of the crisis. One group focused on evacuation plans, another on attempting to deflect the asteroid, while a third worked on mitigating the potential impact. What impressed Zirax most was the seamless integration of everything he had observed over the past few days. The cadets' physical resilience allowed them to work tirelessly. Their tactical acumen led to creative problem-solving. Their cultural understanding helped them coordinate global efforts, and their ethical training came into play as they grappled with hard decisions about resource allocation and risk assessment. As the hours ticked by, Zirax found himself drawn into the exercise. The cadets, recognizing his expertise in space travel, began to ask for his input. He advised on potential trajectories for spacecraft sent to intercept the asteroid and helped calculate fuel requirements for various scenarios. At one point, a heated debate broke out over whether to use experimental weapons technology to destroy the asteroid. The risk of failure was high, and success could result in multiple smaller impacts across the globe. Zirax watched as the cadets weighed the ethical implications, considered the tactical risks, and made a decision that balanced courage with caution. As the 24-hour mark approached, a breakthrough came. A combined plan using deflection technology, carefully targeted explosives, and a gravity assist maneuver from the moon promised to alter the asteroid's course just enough to miss Earth. The tension in the room was electric as they watched the plan unfold. Zirax found himself holding his breath alongside the humans as the asteroid's trajectory slowly, agonizingly, began to shift. When final calculations confirmed that Earth was safe, the command center erupted in cheers. Cadets hugged each other, some with tears in their eyes. Zirax felt a surge of emotion he couldn't quite name. Pride, relief, and something akin to awe. Admiral Cortez approached him, her face showing signs of exhaustion, but her eyes bright. "Well, Commander, what do you think of our training methods now?" Zirax took a moment to collect his thoughts. "Admiral, I came here expecting to find a species barely surviving on a hostile world. Instead, I've discovered a race that has turned adversity into their greatest strength. Your adaptability, your creativity in the face of challenges, your ability to unite despite your differences, these are formidable traits indeed." Cortez nodded, her expression serious. "We've had to be formidable, Commander. Earth has never been kind to us, but we've learned that our greatest challenges can become our greatest teachers." As Zirax prepared to depart, he found himself surrounded by a group of cadets. To his surprise, they presented him with a gift, a small, clear cube containing a piece of the asteroid they had just deflected, now harmlessly orbiting Earth. "A reminder," one cadet said, "that challenges can become opportunities, and that cooperation can achieve the impossible. Boarding his ship, Zirax felt a complex mix of emotions. He had come to assess a potential threat and found instead a species that defied easy categorization. As his vessel lifted off, he looked down at the blue-green planet below, teeming with life despite its harsh conditions. In his final report, Zirax wrote, "Recommendation: approach Earth with utmost caution, but also with an open mind. These humans, forged in the crucible of their Deathworld, possess potential beyond our current understanding. They could be our greatest allies or our most formidable adversaries. In either case, underestimating them would be a grave mistake." As Earth receded from view, Zirax clutched the cube containing the asteroid fragment. It served as a tangible reminder of the lessons he had learned, that adversity breeds strength, that diversity fuels adaptability, and that even on the harshest of worlds, life finds a way not just to survive, but to thrive. The stars stretched into lines as his ship entered hyperspace, carrying Zirax home to a confederation that would need to radically reassess its understanding of humanity and the Deathworld they called home.